Welcome to Sacred Texts Summarized, where we explore timeless wisdom drawn from humanity's most profound spiritual works. Today, we immerse ourselves in the I Ching, often known as the Book of Changes. This ancient Chinese classic has inspired thinkers, mystics, leaders and seekers for well over 2 millennia. More than a text, the I Ching is a conceptual framework that encourages us to perceive life as an intricate tapestry of unfolding cycles and ceaseless movement. It suggests that change is not a force to be feared or resisted, but rather a teacher and a guide, an intrinsic property of existence that, when understood, can help us navigate the subtle currents of our personal and collective journeys. In modern times, we often find ourselves grappling with a longing for certainty in a world that seems ever more complex and turbulent. Yet, the I Ching reminds us that uncertainty, far from being an obstacle, can serve as a doorway to insight. By offering a lens to see patterns and rhythms, it gently nudges us toward greater adaptability, resilience, and clarity. It asks us not to stand rigidly against the winds of change, but to learn their language and move with them. In exploring this text, we encounter both a philosophical treatise and a spiritual mirror, one that reflects back our own nature and challenges us to grow in wisdom. Let's begin by listening carefully to the voice of this ancient oracle and see how it might illuminate the paths we walk, even in these modern days. The I Ching, the Book of Changes, is a venerable cornerstone of Chinese civilization. Its origins reach deep into the past, with roots extending over 3,000 years to the early Zhou dynasty, c. 1046–256 BCE, and possibly even earlier. To understand its depth, it helps to appreciate that this text stands at the confluence of several traditions: myth, cosmology, philosophical inquiry, ethical reflection, and a practical guide to personal decision-making. It was not born in isolation, but emerged from the fertile imaginations and observations of those who strove to understand the mysterious interplay between heaven, earth, and humankind. At its core, the I Ching concerns itself with how we relate to the fundamental patterns of reality. Ancient Chinese cosmology viewed the universe as an ever-changing matrix of energies and tendencies. The concepts of yin and yang, the twin forces often symbolized by broken and unbroken lines, express the notion that all phenomena are governed by complementary opposites. Yin is receptive, yielding, and associated with darkness, coolness, and stillness. Yang is active, assertive, bright, warm, and dynamic. Everything in existence is a dance between these two principles. They are not strictly gendered nor strictly moral categories. Instead, they are dynamic polarities that depend on each other. No day without night, no life without death, no fullness without emptiness. In the I Ching, these principles manifest as lines: solid lines representing yang, broken lines representing yin, that combine into figures called trigrams and, when doubled, into hexagrams. The 64 hexagrams of the I Ching form a kind of periodic table of human experience, each symbolizing a particular configuration of forces and offering a snapshot of change in motion. Rather than rigid labels, these hexagrams serve as portals into patterns of transformation. They do not present static truths, but dynamic insights that shift and evolve. When we consult the I Ching, we typically do so through a traditional method, once involving yarrow stalks, though now often 3 coins suffice. Through a seemingly random process, we form one of the 64 hexagrams. We might arrive at hexagram 1, Qian, the creative, symbolizing pure yang energy at its inception, a time of strong initiative and clarity. Or we might come upon hexagram 2, Kun, the receptive, representing pure yin and suggesting the wisdom of quiet openness. We could meet hexagram 11, Tai, peace, describing a state of harmony between heaven and earth, or hexagram 23, Po, splitting apart, signifying a time of dissolution and warning us of disintegration. Each hexagram is a statement about our present, not a prediction set in stone, but rather a guidepost showing us where we stand in the unfolding cycle of life's transformations. Why was this system created, and why does it still matter? The ancient Chinese closely observed the rhythms of nature, the cycle of the seasons, the waxing and waning of the moon, the migration of birds, the rise and fall of rivers. They recognized that survival and prosperity depended on harmonizing human life with these natural patterns. The I Ching emerged as a tool, a kind of cosmic compass, to help navigate life's unfolding patterns with wisdom rather than anxiety. Its use was not limited to the personal level. It was consulted by leaders and rulers seeking clarity for decisions that would impact entire communities. Over time, the text was enriched by commentary and reflection from philosophers, scholars, and statesmen who saw in it a source of moral, social, and spiritual guidance. Confucius, for instance, is said to have held the I Ching in the highest regard. He viewed its lessons as moral and ethical signposts. By interpreting the hexagrams not merely as cosmic signals, but as guides to right conduct, Confucius helped shape the tradition that saw the I Ching as a tool for ethical cultivation. To him, reading the I Ching was a way to train one's virtue, to align one's actions with heaven's order. If one could truly understand the patterns revealed by the text, one might act without error, fostering justice, benevolence, and harmony in society. On the other hand, Taoist thinkers like Laozi or Zhuangzi approached the I Ching with a different emphasis. Rather than focusing on moral rectitude or social order, they saw it as an expression of the Tao, the natural way. The Tao is beyond human constructs of right and wrong. It is the ineffable flow of life itself. For them, the I Ching illustrated how to yield gracefully before the forces of change, just as water flows around obstacles and nourishes all things without contention. In the Taoist tradition, the I Ching was less about prescriptive ethics and more about cultivating effortless action, Wu Wei, a way of being that harmonizes with the ebb and flow, unburdened by the need to control outcomes. This dual inheritance, Confucian moral rigor and Taoist openness to spontaneity, enriches the I Ching and makes it endlessly adaptable. For some, it serves as a moral compass. For others, a mystical guide to effortless living. It can be both at once. The text, therefore, transcends dogma and invites readers to engage with it in a spirit of exploration. It is like a mirror held up to your life. What you see reflects your own inner landscape, your aspirations, your doubts, and your evolving understanding of what it means to live well. Let's reflect on a practical scenario. Imagine facing a difficult career decision. You feel uncertain about leaving a stable job to pursue a more creative path. Consulting the I Ching, you might draw a hexagram that suggests it is a time of incubation, perhaps hexagram 3, Jun, difficulty at the beginning. This hexagram often speaks of the chaotic, messy energy that arises when starting something new. Seeds pushing through the earth do not do so gracefully or easily. The process is fraught with tension and muddiness. The I Ching is not telling you to quit or stay. Rather, it's reflecting the truth of your situation. New beginnings are hard and require patience, perseverance, and the willingness to stumble before you find firm footing. It encourages you to prepare carefully, to gather strength, and to accept that some confusion at this stage is natural and even productive. Or consider a relationship at a crossroads. Suppose you sense a certain stagnation, and you receive hexagram 12, pi, stagnation. The text describes a situation in which heaven and earth do not communicate well, and energies are blocked. It encourages introspection and patience. It may suggest that this is not a time to force understanding or push forward aggressively. Instead, it's a time to nurture personal integrity, remain honest, and possibly step back long enough to let the situation clarify itself. If the relationship is meant to evolve, it will find a way once conditions change. If not, the clarity you gain may guide you to accept an ending. In either case, the I Ching teaches that understanding the nature of the moment, stagnant, fertile, harmonious, or chaotic, helps you respond more aptly. Another example, hexagram 64, Wei Ji before completion, paints a picture of a journey nearly complete, a task almost finished. It cautions that even though success is near, careful steps are required. Think of climbing a mountain. You see the summit ahead and feel the thrill of accomplishment. But one false step on a steep slope could lead to tragedy. The I Ching reminds us that vigilance is crucial at such moments. Instead of becoming complacent, we must remain aware, disciplined and graceful until the goal is truly secured. Our modern world is replete with attempts to predict and control. We have algorithms to anticipate market trends, weather forecasts that tell us when it might rain, and strategic plans to map out our careers. Yet, the I Ching offers a timeless counterpoint. Life is inherently fluid and cannot be fully captured by linear projections or simplistic cause and effect models. Rather than rigid answers, it offers a tool for cultivating wisdom, humility, and adaptability. We come to see that uncertainty is not a flaw in the system, but an essential feature of life's richness. By engaging with the I Ching, we develop intuitive sensitivity to timing, appropriateness, and attunement to the subtle movements of our lives. The practice of consulting the I Ching also sharpens our capacity for reflection. Instead of seeking an external authority that will solve our problems, we discover that the ultimate authority lies within our own evolving understanding. The text encourages us to pause, breathe, and examine the patterns around us. How do our personal challenges reflect universal themes? How might the advice encoded in a hexagram guide us toward more skillful action? At a collective level, the I Ching's teachings are just as relevant. Human societies, like individuals, experience cycles of growth, decline, stagnation, and renewal. Consider the ecological challenges we face. The ancient wisdom of the I Ching, which emphasizes balance and harmony with natural forces, resonates powerfully today. Hexagrams, such as 32, heng, duration, remind us to think long-term, to value sustainability, persistence, and the slow accumulation of good deeds and responsible stewardship. Hexagram 51, Zhen, the arousing, likens sudden shocks, thunderclaps, to moments that can awaken us from complacency. Environmental crises may serve as such awakenings, challenging us to reconsider our habits and assumptions. The I Ching might suggest that we stand at a critical threshold, needing to harmonize human activity with the planet's regenerative cycles rather than exploit them blindly. Culturally, the I Ching has influenced generations of scholars, poets, artists, and thinkers. Its imagery, rivers, mountains, dragons, and maidens, has inspired countless literary and artistic endeavors. Confucian scholars preserved and annotated it, adding layers of ethical and moral interpretation. Neo-Confucian thinkers combined its wisdom with insights from Buddhism and Taoism, seeing in the hexagrams a cosmological grammar that could illuminate the structure of reality and guide human conduct. Throughout Chinese history, imperial courts consulted the I Ching before making crucial decisions. Dynastic cycles themselves were likened to the cyclical changes outlined in the text. As empires rose, flourished, and fell, the I Ching remained a constant companion to those seeking a deeper understanding of fate, destiny, and the moral responsibilities of leadership. Even in modern China, the I Ching's influence can be seen in philosophy, feng shui, traditional Chinese medicine, and martial arts, all of which draw upon the underlying principles of balance, timing, and holistic thinking that the text embodies. Today, the I Ching transcends its cultural origins and is studied and appreciated worldwide. Translations by Western scholars, such as Richard Wilhelm's early 20th century work, brought the text to a global audience. Thinkers, like Carl Jung, found profound psychological significance in the I Ching, considering its method of divination a means of accessing the archetypes of the collective unconscious. For Jung, the I Ching provided a symbolic language through which the psyche could understand itself. He marveled at how the hexagrams generated through chance could yield meaningful synchronicities, moments when the external symbol and the internal state resonated deeply. In a therapeutic or personal growth context, working with the I Ching can become a form of self-inquiry. Rather than predicting a concrete future, one might consult it to illuminate blind spots, acknowledge fears, or find the courage to embrace necessary changes. For example, if one is struggling with letting go of old habits, grudges, or attachments, and the I Ching offers hexagram 18, Gu, work on what has decayed, this suggests a time to confront lingering stagnation or corruption. It prompts us to clean house, metaphorically speaking, and restore order by addressing what has been neglected. In contrast, someone who feels aimless or stuck might draw hexagram 24, Fu, return. This hexagram speaks of a turning point, a moment when the cycle resets and new beginnings quietly emerge. It offers hope, reminding us that after the darkest night, the dawn inevitably returns. The I Ching encourages trust in these natural cycles, showing that endings are never absolute. They contain the seeds of fresh starts. If we explore the structure of the I Ching more deeply, we find that the 64 hexagrams arise from combinations of 8 trigrams: Qian, heaven; Kun, earth; Zhen, thunder; Jun, wind; Kan, water; Li, fire; Gen, mountain; and Dui, lake. Each trigram evokes a fundamental aspect of nature, and pairing them gives us a snapshot of an interaction: heaven above earth, Tai, peace; earth above mountain, Bo, splitting apart, and so on. As these elemental forces combine, we witness the great variety of life experiences mirrored in their symbolism. The I Ching, in this sense, is not merely a book. It's a cosmological map that connects the patterns of nature with the patterns of our hearts and minds. In practice, using the I Ching often involves reading not only the hexagram's main judgment, but also the commentary on its individual lines. Each of the 6 lines can change, transitioning from yin to yang or vice versa, leading to a second hexagram that reveals the direction of transformation. This aspect underscores one of the I Ching's core principles: no state is permanent. Everything moves. By examining the lines and their changing nature, we learn to attune ourselves to subtle inflection points in our lives. Perhaps one line suggests that perseverance leads to success, while another cautions against advancing too quickly. Taken together, they offer a nuanced guide, a narrative that can shift and refine our perspective. This attentiveness to nuance and timing is something our modern thinking often overlooks. We like to categorize states as good or bad, success or failure. But the I Ching resists such binary thinking. It might tell you that what appears as failure today sets the foundation for growth tomorrow, or what looks like a triumph now carries the seed of future difficulty if not handled wisely. In a way, the I Ching is an ancient voice reminding us that reality is more fluid than our labels, and that wisdom lies in understanding the subtle interplay rather than rushing to judgment. Consider how this perspective might affect daily life. Suppose you are working on a creative project, a novel, a painting, or a new business venture. The I Ching might guide you to understand when to push forward vigorously and when to slow down and reflect. Perhaps early on, you draw a hexagram that encourages steady progress without seeking external validation too soon. Later, when doubts arise, you might receive a hexagram advising you to seek input from a mentor or build supportive relationships. In the final stages, you might find a hexagram emphasizing completion, cautioning you not to spoil the fruit of your labor by rushing the final touches. This interplay of messages helps cultivate a kind of creative timing, enabling you to ride the wave of the project's natural life cycle. Beyond individual or creative pursuits, the I Ching can inform ethical and community-oriented decisions. Imagine a leader consulting it not as a superstitious ritual, but as a tool to reflect upon the moral implications of a policy. They might see how certain choices align with harmony, inclusivity, and long-term well-being, while others foster discord or imbalance. While the text itself does not say, "do this" or "don't do that," it frames situations in symbolic language that highlights underlying principles: cooperation versus coercion, patience versus haste, integrity versus corruption. Because the I Ching's language is metaphorical rather than dogmatic, it leaves room for the interpreter's judgment and wisdom. This open-endedness can be challenging. Those accustomed to clear instructions or formulas might find it frustrating. But therein lies the text's power. It demands that we cultivate our inner resources, our capacity for reflection and discernment. Over time, this cultivation leads to a richer, more resilient inner life and a more nuanced understanding of the world. The I Ching also helps us befriend uncertainty. At times of profound change, starting a family, relocating to another country, shifting careers, or coping with societal upheaval, we often crave certainty. We might turn to experts, gurus, or data analysis to find it. But the I Ching says, change is the only constant. Instead of clinging to illusions of permanence, learn to dance with impermanence. It doesn't deny the discomfort of the unknown. Rather, it acknowledges it and helps us navigate it more gracefully. When we internalize this lesson, we may find ourselves less anxious in the face of turbulence. We become more flexible, able to pivot when circumstances demand it. We learn that endings are not failures, but transitions. In relationships, this can lead to more empathy and patience. In work, it can foster innovation as we become less terrified of trying new approaches. In our spiritual lives, it can deepen our acceptance of the mystery and complexity of existence. Through the centuries, numerous commentaries have expanded upon the I Ching, each generation reading it anew, finding fresh meanings for their time. The 10 Wings, traditionally attributed to Confucius, added layers of moral and philosophical interpretation. Scholars in the Han Dynasty clarified and systematized its teachings, linking it more tightly to the cosmological frameworks of yin-yang and the 5 phases. Later intellectuals and mystics drew upon it to gain metaphysical insights or to refine their spiritual practices. This ongoing dialogue between text and tradition underscores that the I Ching is not a static monument of ancient wisdom. It's a living conversation partner, changing as we change, evolving as we evolve. In the 21st century, we might use the I Ching as a companion to mindfulness practices, journaling, coaching, or therapy. Instead of seeing it as exotic or esoteric, we can appreciate it as a timeless methodology for contemplative inquiry. It teaches us that wisdom emerges not from rigid formula, but from patient observation of how energies unfold. Like a wise elder in a village, the I Ching doesn't give you quick fixes, but gently prompts you to consider perspectives you might have missed. Because of its poetic and symbolic nature, studying the I Ching can also spark creativity. Artists, musicians, and writers might find that consulting the hexagrams frees their imagination, encouraging them to see the world in metaphors and symbols. This symbolic thinking can enrich any field: education, psychology, environmental planning, conflict resolution, by encouraging holistic, systems-level thinking rather than narrow, linear analysis. At its heart, the I Ching suggests a particular stance toward life, one of openness, humility, and responsiveness. Humility is especially emphasized because recognizing change means acknowledging that we never have full control. We approach life circumstances knowing that we must adapt. Responsiveness suggests we do not give up agency, but apply it intelligently, adjusting our efforts as conditions shift. Neither passive fatalism nor rigid assertiveness is the ideal. Instead, we aim for a dynamic balance, acting when it's time to act, waiting when it's time to wait. In a time when speed and certainty are prized, and complexity often overwhelms us, the I Ching's message is refreshingly humane. It says that it's okay not to know everything. It's okay to find wisdom in patterns rather than absolute truths. It's okay to shift your course when the situation calls for it. This stance can reduce stress, conflict, and frustration as we learn to move more fluidly through life's many changes. As we draw near the close of our exploration, consider what the I Ching asks of you. It does not demand belief in supernatural powers. It doesn't insist on obedience. Instead, it encourages an ongoing dialogue with the world around you and the world within you. Each consultation, each reflection, each encounter with a hexagram or a line is an invitation to become more conscious, more receptive, and more in tune with the subtle harmonies of existence. You might think of the I Ching as a musical score. It lays out the notes and suggests a melody, but it's up to you, the musician of your own life, to interpret and perform it. Two different people playing from the same score may create entirely different moods and meanings. The I Ching's beauty lies in this multiplicity. The core patterns endure, but the interpretation is personal and ever-changing. In a world where divisions often loom large, where we struggle to find common ground or adapt to rapidly evolving challenges, the I Ching stands as a testament to the enduring power of wisdom traditions. Rooted in ancient China, it has transcended time, place, and culture, offering guidance to anyone willing to listen. Its language might feel archaic at first, dragons and maidens, thunder and wind, but these images bridge imagination and experience, helping us connect the dots between our inner landscapes and the broader cosmos. Consider leaving today's conversation with a few core insights. First, acknowledge the inevitability of change. Let this recognition soften your resistance and temper your impatience. Second, cultivate awareness of patterns. Learn to see how tensions build, how harmonies arise, and how cycles complete themselves before new ones begin. Third, trust in your capacity to respond skillfully. The I Ching does not hand out solutions. It sharpens your intuition, broadens your perspective, and enhances your discernment. Finally, remember that the I Ching's wisdom is not locked in the past. Its relevance persists because it describes fundamental aspects of the human condition: uncertainty, growth, challenge, and renewal. As long as human beings wonder how to live wisely, how to relate to one another, and how to navigate an unpredictable world, the I Ching will remain a wellspring of insight. In closing, thank you for journeying with us through the Book of Changes. May the reflections we've shared today inspire you to embrace life's fluctuations with greater peace, understanding, and intention. As you move forward, consider that every choice, every setback, and every breakthrough forms a piece of your unfolding story. The I Ching gently reminds us that no matter how turbulent or tranquil the moment, we are always participants in a grand dance of transformation. By learning its rhythms, we find our own graceful steps, and through them discover meaning in an ever-changing universe. Until next time, carry these insights with you as silent companions. Let them guide you when you feel lost, reassure you when you stand at a threshold, and uplift you when you sense the subtle currents of life's profound and ceaseless change.